In a bustling square outside one of the most iconic palaces in the heart of London, a young tourist stood with his friends, eager to capture an unforgettable moment. The atmosphere was lively, filled with the sounds of laughter and chatter as visitors snapped photos of the historic architecture and the regal presence of the royal guard. This particular guard, clad in his traditional red tunic and tall black bearskin hat, stood stoically on duty, embodying centuries of British tradition. The tourist, fueled by a playful spirit and perhaps a dash of bravado, concocted a plan that he believed would lighten the mood. He picked up his half-full cup of coffee and, with a mischievous grin, decided to throw it at the guard. In his mind, it was merely a harmless prank, a way to inject some humor into an otherwise serious scene. His friends egged him on, laughing at the absurdity of it all, unaware of the consequences that would soon unfold. As he flung the coffee toward the guard, time seemed to slow down. The hot liquid arced gracefully through the air before splattering across the guard's pristine uniform. For a moment, shock registered on the faces of those around him. The guard remained immobile, his expression unreadable beneath his stoic facade. The tourist burst into laughter, believing he had successfully executed a prank that would become a legendary story among friends. However, what he did not anticipate was the gravity of his actions. The Royal Guard is not merely a figurehead. He is part of an institution steeped in history and tradition. Trained to remain unfazed by provocations, the Guard's silence masked a deeper protocol that was about to be set into motion. Moments later, security personnel approached the laughing tourist with stern expressions, ready to address what they viewed as an act of disrespect. Little did the tourist know that this light-hearted moment would spiral into something far more serious than just a prank gone wrong. As laughter faded and reality set in, he began to grasp the implications of his actions, a lesson about cultural norms and respect that he would not soon forget. As the hot coffee splashed against the Royal Guard's uniform, there was an almost surreal stillness in the air. The tourist, expecting a reaction, perhaps a flinch or an angry shout, was met instead with an unwavering silence. The guard remained perfectly still, his expression unchanging, as if he were a statue carved from stone. This composure was precisely what he had been trained for, to withstand provocation and maintain discipline at all costs. To the tourist, this unexpected lack of response only fueled his amusement. He laughed heartily, thinking that his prank had successfully baffled the stoic figure before him. His friends joined in, pointing and chuckling at what they perceived as a hilarious moment, a story to tell over drinks later that evening. They were all too caught up in the thrill of the moment to grasp the seriousness of their actions. The guard's silence, rather than eliciting concern or embarrassment, was interpreted as indifference to their antics. But beneath the surface of this seemingly light-hearted encounter lay a deeper reality. The Royal Guard's training involved not just standing guard, but also embodying an unyielding sense of duty and respect for tradition. He understood that engaging with tourists, even in moments of disrespect, could undermine the dignity of his role. Thus, he stood firm, embodying the spirit of resilience that has defined his position for generations. As laughter echoed around him, the guard's mind was focused on protocol. He was not there to entertain or respond to foolishness. Instead, his duty was to uphold the sanctity of his post, regardless of what transpired around him. The tourist's laughter rang hollow against this backdrop of discipline and respect. Yet, as seconds ticked by and no immediate consequences followed, the tourist began to feel emboldened. He misread the situation entirely, believing that he had merely pulled off an amusing stunt without repercussion. Little did he know that this moment would soon shift from laughter to a sobering realization about boundaries and respect for authority, a lesson that awaited him just around the corner. As the coffee splattered against the Royal Guard, the square erupted into a cacophony of reactions. While the tourist and his friends doubled over in laughter, a wave of mixed emotions rippled through the crowd of onlookers. Some found the scene amusing, chuckling at what they perceived as a harmless prank. They saw the guard's stoic demeanor as a humorous contrast to the absurdity of being doused in coffee, and for a moment, it felt like comedic relief in an otherwise serious context. However, not everyone shared this lighthearted perspective. Many bystanders looked on in disbelief, their expressions shifting from surprise to disapproval. For them, The incident represented a blatant act of disrespect towards a figure of authority, one steeped in centuries of tradition and duty. They understood the significance of the royal guard, who stood not just as a soldier, but as a symbol of national pride and heritage. The sight of a tourist treating him as nothing more than an object of mockery struck a nerve, igniting feelings of outrage among those who valued decorum. Murmurs spread through the crowd, and voices rose in protest against the tourist's actions. "That's completely unacceptable," one woman exclaimed, shaking her head in dismay. Another bystander chimed in, expressing concern about how such behavior might reflect poorly on tourists and their treatment of local customs. The laughter that had initially filled the air began to fade, giving way to intense discussions about respect and cultural sensitivity. As tensions mounted, some individuals even pulled out their phones to document the incident, eager to share their outrage on social media. They captured images and videos of the scene unfolding, ready to broadcast their views to a wider audience. In this digital age, moments like these quickly became fodder for public discourse, further amplifying the contrasting opinions regarding appropriate behavior in public spaces. The atmosphere shifted dramatically from amusement to solemnity as bystanders began to comprehend the implications of what had just transpired. What started as playful mischief now stood as a pointed reminder of the need for respect towards those who serve their communities with dignity, a lesson that resonated deeply within that historic square. As the laughter subsided and the atmosphere shifted, the tourist's carefree demeanor began to unravel. Moments after the coffee incident, two uniformed security personnel approached him with serious expressions etched on their faces. Their presence cast a shadow over what had initially felt like a harmless prank, and the tourist's heart began to race as he realized that this was no ordinary interaction. The guards wasted no time in addressing the situation. They explained that throwing any object, especially something like coffee, at a royal guard is considered an act of public disorder and disrespect. The words hung heavily in the air, punctuated by the murmurs of onlookers who had witnessed the unfolding drama. This was not merely a funny story to share with friends. It was a matter of legal implications. As they spoke, the gravity of his actions began to sink in. The security personnel informed the tourist that he could face charges for his behavior, including potential fines or even a brief detention for public misconduct. The realization that he was facing serious consequences transformed his initial amusement into anxiety. He looked around for support from his friends, but their expressions had changed too, shifting from laughter to concern as they grasped the reality of the situation. The guards remained calm, yet firm, emphasizing that public figures such as the royal guard deserve respect. They explained that their role is not just ceremonial. It encompasses a commitment to upholding tradition and security in a historic setting. As the tourist listened, he started to understand that his actions not only disrespected an individual, but also trivialized the cultural significance attached to that role. As he faced the possibility of legal repercussions, thoughts raced through his mind. He realized he hadn't considered how his prank would be perceived within a different cultural context. What felt like a light-hearted jest could carry weighty implications in London, where history and respect intertwine with daily life. With each passing moment, the reality of his situation became clearer. This was no longer just about a spilled cup of coffee. It was about accountability and understanding boundaries, lessons he would learn far too late in what had begun as a simple day out as a tourist. The incident involving the tourist and the royal guard serves as a poignant reminder of the cultural significance embedded in British traditions. The royal guards, who stand vigil outside royal residences, are not merely ceremonial figures. They symbolize centuries of history, duty, and national pride. Clad in their iconic uniforms, these guards represent the British monarchy and serve as a connection to the country's rich heritage. In British culture, the royal guards are revered not only for their role in ceremonial events, but also for their unwavering commitment to discipline and service. Trained to maintain an expressionless demeanor while on duty, they are expected to remain unflappable in the face of distractions, such as loud tourists or curious passersby. This stoicism is part of what makes them a beloved attraction in London, drawing crowds eager to witness a piece of living history. However, with this admiration comes a clear expectation of respect. The The Royal Guards embody an institution that has stood the test of time, and as such, they are deserving of deference from both locals and visitors alike. Throwing coffee at one of them not only disrespects the individual guard, but also undermines the cultural values they represent. It is a breach of etiquette that can be difficult for outsiders to grasp without an understanding of local customs. For tourists unfamiliar with these traditions, this incident highlights a crucial lesson about cultural sensitivity. Many people travel to new places with a sense of curiosity and playfulness, often forgetting that behaviors considered harmless in one context can be seen as offensive in another. Engaging with local customs requires an awareness of the significance they hold within that culture. As discussions arise in the aftermath of the incident, it becomes clear that respect for local customs is paramount for fostering positive interactions between tourists and residents. Encouraging travelers to educate themselves about cultural norms can help prevent misunderstandings like this one. Ultimately, appreciation for local traditions enriches the travel experience and fosters mutual respect between visitors and those who call that place home. In this case, understanding the role of the Royal Guard is essential, not just for avoiding legal repercussions, but also for cultivating a deeper appreciation for the history and values that define British culture. The lesson learned by the tourist serves as a cautionary tale about the importance of cultural awareness when exploring new environments. As the reality of the situation set in, the tourist found himself facing serious legal repercussions for what he had initially deemed a harmless prank. The security personnel explained that he would be charged with public disorder and disrespect towards a member of the armed forces. This was not just a slap on the wrist. It was a formal process that could lead to fines or even a brief detention, depending on how authorities chose to proceed. The gravity of these charges struck him hard. He had thought throwing coffee would be an amusing anecdote to share with friends back home, but now he was staring down the barrel of potential legal consequences. The realization that his actions could result in an official reprimand transformed his laughter into anxiety, and he suddenly felt very far from the carefree tourist he had intended to be. This incident opened up a broader conversation about the implications of seemingly trivial actions while traveling in foreign lands. Many tourists often underestimate how cultural norms vary from country to country, leading them to engage in behaviors that may seem innocuous but are viewed as offensive or disruptive in different contexts. The tourist's experience became a cautionary tale about the importance of understanding local laws and customs before acting. As news of the incident spread, discussions erupted both online and offline about the responsibilities that come with being a visitor in another country. People weighed in on social media, debating whether the charges were too harsh or justified given the nature of the act. Some argued that individuals should be held accountable for their actions, regardless of intent, while others voiced concerns about overreach and disproportionate responses to minor infractions. In the wake of this event, travel experts began emphasizing the need for cultural education as part of pre-trip preparations. They highlighted that knowing local customs not only enriches the travel experience, but can also prevent misunderstandings that lead to legal troubles. This incident served as a stark reminder of how quickly a moment of thoughtlessness can escalate into something far more significant. Ultimately, the tourist learned an invaluable lesson about accountability and respect, one that would stay with him long after he returned home. His story became emblematic of how even small actions can have significant consequences when interacting with cultures different from one's own, urging travelers everywhere to tread carefully and considerately in unfamiliar territories. As news of the incident spread, it quickly gained traction in both local and international media outlets. Headlines began to emerge, capturing the attention of readers around the world. Some articles presented the story as a comedic blunder, framing it as a light-hearted moment gone awry. They highlighted the absurdity of a tourist tossing coffee at a royal guard, turning it into a humorous anecdote that resonated with those who enjoy a good laugh at the quirks of travel. However, not all coverage leaned toward the comedic. Many outlets took a more serious tone, using the incident as a cautionary tale about cultural insensitivity. Commentators and experts weighed in, emphasizing the importance of respecting local customs and understanding the implications of one's actions while abroad. This dual narrative, a blend of humor and seriousness, captured the complexities of the situation and sparked discussions in various forums. Social media played a significant role in amplifying the story, with users sharing memes and witty commentary alongside more thoughtful reflections on cultural respect. The hashtag associated with the incident quickly gained popularity, leading to widespread engagement from individuals eager to express their opinions. Some celebratory posts focused on the tourist's blunder as a source of entertainment, while others criticized his lack of awareness regarding local customs. The media frenzy provided an opportunity for travel experts to address broader issues related to tourism etiquette. They published articles outlining best practices for engaging with different cultures and reminded travelers that humor does not always translate across boundaries. The incident became a focal point for discussions about how seemingly trivial actions can have significant repercussions, underscoring the necessity for greater cultural awareness among tourists. As the story continued to unfold, it served as a reminder that what might seem like harmless fun can sometimes cross into disrespect. The tourist's experience became emblematic of the challenges faced by many travelers, navigating unfamiliar customs while balancing their desire for enjoyment with an obligation to show respect. Ultimately, this incident not only entertained but also educated, a lesson that resonated far beyond the initial laughter. It highlighted how moments of folly can lead to meaningful conversations about understanding and appreciation for diverse cultures. As media coverage expanded, both locally and globally, it reinforced the idea that travel is not just about exploration, but also about fostering respect and connection between people from all walks of life. In the wake of the incident, social media erupted with a flurry of reactions that showcased a wide array of opinions and sentiments. Memes began to circulate almost immediately, with users cleverly captioning images of the royal guard and the coffee splash, turning an embarrassing moment into a source of humor. Some memes depicted the guard as an unyielding figure, humorously declaring, "Coffee? Not today." Others poked fun at the tourist's misguided prank, suggesting that he would think twice before disrespecting authority again. As the memes proliferated, so did discussions about the broader implications of the event. Comment sections across platforms like Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook filled with heated debates reflecting diverse societal attitudes toward authority and cultural norms. Many users expressed outrage at the tourist's actions, citing a lack of respect for an institution that holds significant historical value. These voices emphasized that actions such as throwing coffee at a royal guard not only undermine respect for tradition, but also portray a troubling attitude toward figures of authority. Conversely, some users defended the tourist, arguing that it was just a prank gone wrong and calling for a more lenient perspective on his actions. They contended that humor is often culturally contextual and that not everyone may understand the significance of the royal guard in British society. This perspective sparked conversations about how cultural misunderstandings can lead to disproportionate reactions and consequences. As discussions unfolded, many people took the opportunity to share their own travel experiences, recounting moments when they navigated cultural differences or faced misunderstandings abroad. These narratives added depth to the conversation, illustrating how international travel often comes with unique challenges that require sensitivity and awareness. The incident resonated particularly with younger audiences who are active online, prompting them to reflect on their own behaviors while traveling. It became a platform for learning about respect and propriety in unfamiliar environments. Many users urged others to educate themselves on local customs before visiting new places, emphasizing that humor should never come at the expense of dignity. Ultimately, social media transformed a single incident into a larger dialogue about authority, respect, and cultural sensitivity. The public's reaction not only entertained but also educated, prompting many to consider how they interact with different cultures in an increasingly interconnected world. As discussions continued to ripple through digital spaces, it became clear that this incident was more than just a fleeting moment. It served as a catalyst for meaningful conversations about respect and understanding in a diverse society. In the aftermath of the incident, the tourist found himself in a whirlwind of reflection and reevaluation. As he faced the consequences of his actions, he began to comprehend the gravity of what had transpired. In subsequent interviews, he openly expressed regret for throwing coffee at the royal guard, acknowledging that what he thought would be a light-hearted prank had turned into a serious matter with far-reaching implications. During these interviews, he articulated how his initial perception of the Guard as merely a figure of amusement was misguided. He realized that the Royal Guard represents much more than just a tourist attraction. They embody a rich history and tradition that deserves respect. This newfound understanding prompted him to reflect on how cultural nuances shape interactions and behaviors in different parts of the world. He recounted how, before this incident, he had never fully appreciated the significance of customs and traditions outside his own culture. As he spoke candidly about his experience, many listeners could empathize with his journey. His story became a powerful learning moment for others, highlighting the importance of cultural sensitivity when traveling. He emphasized that it is essential for tourists to engage thoughtfully with local customs, understanding that even seemingly trivial actions can have serious ramifications. This message resonated strongly, particularly among younger travelers who might find themselves caught up in similar situations. The tourist's reflections sparked conversations about personal responsibility in international travel. Many viewers and readers praised his willingness to own up to his mistakes and learn from them. His honesty served as an important reminder that everyone makes errors in judgment. What matters is how one responds and grows from those experiences. As discussions continued online and in various media outlets, the narrative shifted from one of mere embarrassment to a dialogue focused on growth and understanding. The tourist's regret transformed into a call for awareness and respect, encouraging others to take time to learn about the places they visit. In sharing his story, he hoped to foster greater appreciation for cultural differences and promote respectful interactions between travelers and locals. The incident ultimately became more than just a cautionary tale. It evolved into an opportunity for education and reflection, underlining how moments of folly can lead to profound insights about humanity and connection across cultures. Through his experience, the tourist learned that true adventure lies not only in exploring new places, but also in embracing the values and traditions that define them. The incident involving the tourist and the Royal Guard sparked widespread discussions about tourism etiquette, emphasizing the critical importance of respecting local traditions. As more people engaged with the story, it became clear that the implications reached far beyond a singular event. They highlighted a growing need for awareness among travelers regarding cultural sensitivities. Many commentators took to various platforms to dissect what went wrong and how similar situations could be avoided in the future. The narrative shifted from mere amusement at a prank gone wrong to a serious conversation about the responsibilities that come with being a visitor in a foreign land. It became evident that seemingly innocuous actions, like throwing coffee, could lead to serious consequences, not only for the individual involved, but also for the broader perception of tourists as a whole. Travel experts began advocating for educational initiatives aimed at promoting respectful behavior among tourists. They underscored the necessity of understanding local customs and norms before embarking on trips, suggesting that travelers familiarize themselves with cultural practices in order to navigate interactions more thoughtfully. This incident served as a reminder that every culture has its own set of values and expectations, and ignorance of these can lead to misunderstandings and disrespect. The discussions also touched on the impact of social media in shaping perceptions of travel experiences. As stories like this one gain attention online, they can influence how future visitors approach their travels. The incident became an example of how quickly actions can be scrutinized and shared globally, reinforcing the idea that tourists should consider their behavior carefully, knowing that they may be under observation at all times. Furthermore, the dialogue extended into reflections on authority figures and symbols within different cultures. The Royal Guard is not just a soldier. He represents history, tradition, and national identity. Understanding this significance is vital for fostering respect in cross-cultural interactions. Ultimately, this incident prompted a broader examination of tourism behavior, urging individuals to think critically about their actions while traveling. It highlighted that humor should never come at the cost of dignity or respect for others. As conversations continued to unfold, it became clear that every traveler has a role in shaping the global narrative about tourism, one that values respect, understanding, and appreciation for diverse cultures. Through such discussions, society can foster more meaningful connections between locals and visitors, enriching the travel experience for everyone involved.